Warning, the following episode contains spoilers. And be sure to follow our podcast on these available platforms.
What's up, guys? Welcome to the Nocturnal Movie Club. I am your host, OJ, joined by my esteemed co-hosts, Jake King and Josh Gutman. Jake, some movie news?
We got a couple of things. Nothing too major, like as compared to the Oscar slap, but we do have some things to mention. Let's see what have we got here. Right now, there's a debate on whether or not Marvel is actually going to renew Moon Knight for a season 2. Oscar Isaac seems to be saying that this is a one-season thing, but Marvel hinted on Twitter that there may be a season 2. So that
I think
conversation
Oscar's
is
just
going
playing the
on.
whole, Marvel, I don't know, I think, I don't know, it might be season 2, it may not be. I think Oscar's doing one of those. I think the way the story is left off, there's no way we don't get a season 2. And I know some of these Disney Plus shows are meant to be one-off, but there's a few that are meant for multiple seasons. I think Moon Knight's one of them. Obviously, we're getting a Loki season 2. We're getting a What If season 2. Will we get a Miss Marvel season 2? I don't think so. I think she'll go into another bigger project. Um, Hawkeye, we're not getting another season of Hawkeye unless I think it's purely just Haley Steinfeld, but I don't think we're going to get that either.
Yeah. But did you notice at the end? I mean, we'll talk more about Moon Knight, the Moon Knight finale afterwards. But did you notice at the end of it didn't say Moon Knight will return?
No, it didn't. It didn't return. But you just. I think. I think we have to see how the numbers do, of course. But I think, if depending the numbers, I think we'll get a season 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it seems like it's too perfectly set up where there's clearly a continuation of this specific character. And yeah, we'll go into it when we get to Marvel, when we get to Moon Knight in more focus. But I agree completely. I think Oscar Isaac's just playing coy.
Okay. Now, last episode we were talking about who we would choose for the director of Fast and Furious 10, and Hollywood seems to have selected a choice, Louis Leterrier of The Incredible Hulk. What do you guys think of that?
Interesting choice. I mean, it seems like they picked somebody that they can sort of mold into the franchise rather than someone with their own distinct style.
Okay. I'm one of the few people who actually like that movie. We're talking about the Marvel movie with Edward Norton, right?
Yes.
Yeah. I actually enjoyed that movie. I thought that movie was pretty solid. I enjoyed Edward Norton's performance in that, and I think I liked Hulk in that. I don't have any issues with that movie. I mean, Abomination is probably my main issue and his lack of comic accuracy, but in regards to his look. But other than that, I like that movie, so I'm all for that. I think I think he's very moldable, as you guys said, and I think that works.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very heavily based on who the writer is going to be for this one, because he's not I agree. I actually like Incredible Hulk also a bit more than I think most people do. I think it's a fine Marvel film, but he's also not a director where I could immediately look at one frame or one action sequence and be like, oh yeah, that's one of his movies. I think this one is going to be one where the strength is really going to be in the writing.
We're talking about the Fast and the Furious, right?
I do. There is good writing in that franchise.
Some.
Okay, we're not talking about A24 here, but there's some decent writing in the franchise.
It's all about family.
Yeah. It is all about family.
Well, no,
Family's important.
I think Fast has a formula at this point. Like most franchises, there's a certain formula that works. So I think as long as he sticks to the formula, he'll have a successful movie.
Yeah, and by the way,
whatever the core.
I agree with you guys. I do actually like the 2008 Incredible Hulk a lot more than a lot of people do. I think maybe it's just because Marvel now has a distinct formula in terms of the way it acts and the way it looks. And when you look back on that film, it feels more like it stands on its own. It feels like it has a style compared to all the other Marvel films. Well, not all of them, but a majority of them.
Yeah.
That's true, honestly. It feels more like a sci-fi monster movie, which is pretty fun.
Yeah, those were the days.
But it works. I think it was early days. It's only the second Marvel MCU movie. So it's not bad. So I think they got a guy who knows how to use, work with CGI and big action. So it makes sense. Good choice, Fast. Go Vin Diesel.
Okay, and now I got two more pieces of movie news. HBO Max just announced that Viola Davis will be getting her own spin-off from Peacemaker.
So now the spin-off is getting its own spin-off.
Yep.
What I mean is more justifiable. I mean, like Viola was in the first Suicide Squad. She's been in the DCU for a while. Her third appearance.
So, like, I mean, third appearance overall, but like, it almost feels like this is technically a second appearance compared to like how the DCU is going at this point. They're acting like the first one, almost like the first one never happened.
I mean, there's no way because like, I guess, yeah.
It's like sort of, but not really.
I mean, Amanda Waller is an interesting character, and she is compelling enough to stand on her own. But as the lead of her own series it's hard to picture because I always felt like she was strongest as like an antagonist or a villain or a side character. I think she can do a standalone, or it can be a standalone series based off of her. I'm just trying to think of what that would look like.
Yeah, well, they're saying here that it won't be as much of a comedy as Peacemaker is.
Well, it's Amanda Waller. She's not exactly funny.
Yeah,
she's scary. She's like the Godfather. She's the puppet master. But also, would that technically take away some of the mystery of her character? I mean, part of her menace is how close to the vest she is. Like, would her own series kind of run the risk of just demystifying her in a way?
Yeah, maybe.
She's kind of like an anti like Nick Fury in a way. Where she runs like a secret government organization, and so I don't know how you do an Amanda Waller TV show without the Suicide Squad. I'm just not sure because whenever we see Amanda Waller, what's her character name? Amanda Waller. It's usually a Suicide Squad comic, so I'm just not sure in what context we're going to see her, like what she's doing, and so I'm very curious to see what kind of direction they take with this.
Yeah, it's actually coming from Watchmen writer Crystal Henry,
which was great. Ooh. I love Watchmen. So I mean, so you have that, which is an amazing.
That's good. That's good.
You have Viola Davis, who's one of the best actresses that's ever lived.
Absolutely.
So
yes,
I've not seen her in One Thing That I Hated.
Well, don't watch the First Lady TV show. Currently on Showtime, but
good. I don't have Showtime.
Yeah. It's the choices are their choices. Yeah. So I mean, you can't go wrong. You could go wrong, but it's going to be really hard to go wrong. I'm just very curious to see what the story will be and what they're going to do with this.
I mean, I remember when she was like Amanda Waller's character in the Justice League animated series.
Yes.
When she was like, doing Cadmus stuff and everything. And she knew how to be intimidating as a foil to like, especially Batman of everybody. I guess whoever like.
Well, even her little scene with Ben Affleck, she was a great foil to him. And that little scene we got at the end credits when she was like meeting with Batman for dinner, and she's like, and she like, so even that little bit, she was like on toe to toe with Batman there himself, and I believed it. So. So maybe
every moment
So maybe the show is her running Cadmus. I don't know. We'll see. I'm not sure.
Yeah. And finally, in movie news, after so many years of waiting, after a couple of behind-the-scenes pictures, and just recently the title reveal, we finally got a trailer for Avatar 2, also known as Avatar: The Way of Water.
Yay! Is Avatar considered nostalgia now? Like,
it's a good question. I don't know.
Like how they just, oh my god, I find it hilarious. Just the whole thing with Avatar hilarious. How like they waited so long, it went to not caring, and then it passed not caring, and somehow then like now people are like, oh yeah, I remember Avatar. This could be interesting. Like there is actually like. It's like a mix of intrigue and who cares, but even the who cares is people vocally saying who cares.
Sure,
so there's some implied intrigue. God. I mean, I'm gonna see it. I just need to know. Like, I can't even say like I'm a fan of the original movie. Like, I liked seeing it in the theater, but that was the only reason to see it was for the technology. Even at the time, the only reason to see it was for the technology. So once it got on, like once it left the theaters, I had no more reason to watch it because the story was basically Pocahontas with aliens. Um,
Yeah. So yeah, I'm actually kind of curious, like what they're gonna do for this sequel story.
Well,
that's what they're banking on.
I will say this: like Avatar, after Avengers Endgame came out, they re-released Avatar because they wanted more money, and
Mhm.
and Avengers Endgame had topped it at the box office for best selling movie of all time. And then when they did the re-release, it topped Avengers Endgame yet again. So there's still Avatar fans out there because people went to go see the re-release, and it put them over enough to top Endgame. So it has its audience. The trailer for me was like, it didn't excite me or get me excited for Avatar. I think part of the draw, I think last time was the technology, as you said, and everyone was just so curious to see, how it worked and all that. Now that we've seen it done successfully so many times, um, I don't know, but Avatar, I think it's still a strong IP, still a strong brand. It has amusement park. It's a big brand. It's one of those. They're making it a franchise. Just like Harry Potter and Marvel and all that stuff. So, and Mission Impossible. It's a franchise. So we'll see if the franchise has legs. Sequels 1 and 2, 2 and 3 have already been shot.
Mhm.
So we're getting them.
Now, question is, how long after Avatar 2 will we get Avatar 3?
2 years.
Yeah, it's
2 years turns to
years.
4, then 4 to 8. Like
But
James
Is it
Cameron
going
will
to be
suddenly
another
decide he doesn't
10-year
like the way
gap?
it looks.
The pandemic did
Will
push
there be
back some
children
things.
born in between?
Yes. The pandemic did push back some of the dates. So some of it is the pandemic, but it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, the thing is, like, when I watched the trailer, like you, I wasn't wowed by it, but at the same time, I couldn't help but think that this looked really nice. Because one thing you gotta give James Cameron credit for, he knows how to capture the ocean, and there's a lot of really good shots in this trailer, and the music in the trailer was really good too. So at the
Mhm.
very least,
Isn't
we
one of the
got a
selling
really good looking movie coming out.
Yeah.
isn't one of the selling points of it that he developed this new underwater camera technology for the movie? Because I know that's like something that James Cameron's always been fascinated by, whether he made The Abyss or Titanic,
And
shooting
Ghost of the Abyss.
underwater. And yeah, Abyss is, oh my god, I love The
We'll
Abyss.
see. I heard he's just copying Aquaman. I don't know. We'll see. I think James Cameron is a prolific filmmaker, of course, and
Yeah, because look back at his previous films, like the 2 Terminator films, True Lies, Titanic. They all have very iconic scenes, and The Abyss. Can't forget that.
they do. But
Can't
those
forget The
movies are
Abyss.
all 20+ years old, and sometimes, as we know, filmmakers tend to lose their touch a bit. And hopefully, he has not. And
Well, like, he's always had his flaws, but like
yeah,
but where he's shown, he really shown.
right, 20 years ago, and
Yeah, but like he has spots here and there. I mean, granted, like the only movie he's directed like in between was Avatar. So,
Hmm.
but still, he's had a. I don't know. I have faith that he'll do good here. I mean, he's back to
I'm
the
hoping.
ocean.
I'm hoping for Sam Worthington, who can use the word and really needs to English. I think I'm praying this is a big hit because we're
Hmm.
Team Disney, so brand synergy here. You know,
And well, we have the trailer
Def-
now. Like they're probably gonna overload the marketing leading up
mhm.
to the holiday season.
there was a big trailer event, but so before we went to go watch Doctor Strange, Disney hosted this big, come watch the trailer thing before Doctor Strange, and I would think my audience full of critics and very few fans alike were just like, yeah.
Like
Oh, I don't know if I can say that.
they're like, oh yeah, that was a thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
it happened.
I'm not sure I can say that, but yeah, there wasn't the response was not excitement. It was just like, oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
Yeah.
never root for I never root for failure. I want a movie to do well just on principle. I
Same.
hope it's
I
good.
don't want to watch garbage. And the more enjoyable content,
Yeah,
the better.
I don't know. Sometimes I like to
exactly.
watch garbage every once in a while. You guys know me. I always
Well, yeah,
recommend good shit to you
intentional
guys.
garbage. I like garbage that knows, like,
Yes.
that knows it and like and leans into it, like the Sharknadoes and
Or,
But that's the thing. Like sometimes they're more sincere when they're garbage that fails.
true.
or like it's just a train wreck that you just can't look away from. That's also fun too. Like the worst thing a movie could ever be to me is boring.
I agree.
And I hope that this one is this Avatar is not boring. I mean, the last one wasn't boring, but it was very predictable. The story was the weakest element, and I hope that
It was
this one at least
Pocahontas.
exactly. So I hope that this one is at least interesting. Like I'm not expecting this to be the greatest film in the world or anything, but I hope it at least is. I hope it's all right.
Yeah, I mean, we might have that expectation too, given it took this many years to complete. So you can't help but have that expectation.
True. Like this took you 10 years for real.
I'm saying like
Longer
the
than 10
technology
years.
must be really good. There must be some really amazing shots in this film, and I would be disappointed if there aren't. But there seem to be, according to the trailer.
Yeah. No, there's some beautiful, breathtaking shots. The really big question is the story. So,
Yeah. Well, I mean, look, they already told the Pocahontas story, so where can they go from there?
who knows? Hercules,
Hunchback of Notre Dame. Hunchback of Notre Dame with aliens and water.
Emperor's New Groove. Who knows?
Finding Nemo.
Finding Nemo.
Black Cauldron.
Yeah.
Oh no, not the Black Cauldron.
The Black Cauldron in space.
Here we go. Or underwater, which is space, apparently.
Underwater space.
There we go.
It doesn't have to make sense.
I want
multiverse and multiverse. Expect nothing. Red is green.
We're in the age of the multiverse.
We are in the age of the multiverse.
We're in the age of the multiverse. Nothing you know is real.
Oh my god. Well, we'll get to the multiverse soon, but let's get into the Moon Knight finale. We got it. They had a lot of story to wrap up. They wrapped up some of it. Some of it we're hoping for season 2. What did you guys think?
I thought it was a decent finale. Like the post-credit scene, I thought like made it all worthwhile. Okay. Finding out the third identity that's within Mark or Steven. Like
Jake.
What do we call it? Yeah, me.
Yeah, Jake.
Hi, Jake.
Sorry, I had to find out this way, everyone. No, but I thought it was a decent finale. Like I thought it delivered the goods. Like because I was worried that this was going to be a colossal drop in quality compared to what we saw before in Moon Knight, but
yeah,
it wrapped up nicely. I thought. What did you think, Josh?
I thought it was. Here's I'm a little conflicted because I do like it as like it's a great culmination of Mark's character. It was great to see him finally come to terms with his other self and his place as a hero. But if it's a mini series and there's not supposed to be a season 2, then having like basically big part of the final battle be a giant blackout where like, okay, Jake took over and that's what we know the blackouts are. It kind of felt a little anticlimactic at like a few parts. Like I'm talking specifically the scene where like they're surrounded and then they cut away, everyone is basically decimated and then
Ethan
no
Hawke's
one knew what happened.
Dead. I'm like, what?
Exactly. And like I got what happened, and if it's meant to lead to a season 2, it's perfectly fine because that's when they're going to get into Jake Lockley and them coming to terms with this more aggressive personality that's actually more in line with Khonshu and what Khonshu's looking for. But if it's meant to be a mini series and there's not going to be a continuation, it feels kind of just presentation wise a bit of a letdown, if that makes any sense.
A bit. Like here's the thing, like because like WandaVision ended with a big CGI fight. Like that's what I expected this episode was going to do, and we got like half of that.
And honestly, I'm fine. I don't need a big CGI fight. I mean, as much as I love WandaVision, the CGI fight at the end was like one of the weaker elements to me because I liked the tone it was more going for. But with this one, where it was meant to have a more action adventure with a psychological horror bend to it, I'd be okay if it wasn't a giant CGI fight. And
yeah, by the way, I have a question. I was a little confused with like them coming back because they made it seem like they couldn't go back to the living world. So is there just like a convenience there?
What do you mean, like
A
the living
bit.
world? Like who couldn't go back to the living world?
Mark
Oh,
and
Mark was dead.
oh, Mark and Steven.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. I don't know how they just made it back to the living world. They made it through the doors of Asante, and then all of a sudden they were back in the living world.
Hmm.
But it wasn't until Layla freed Khonshu that he was able to heal their body, and then there, I guess from there they were able to go back into the living world. I guess.
It's because Khonshu came back. That's how they were able to make it work.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because Khonshu is
It's a little
sort of that
confusing.
bridge.
Yeah.
Hmm?
It's a
Yeah, it's
little
comic book
confusing.
logic.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, not cinema logic for me.
No, but the best part of the episode for me was Layla getting her power up. I didn't expect that. And her being like the first Egyptian superhero and all that. So I love the representation. I love the female representation. I love that we're getting more female superheroes. I'm not sure if she's a comic-based, reference for that for Layla getting the big power up. But I enjoyed
Yeah,
it.
Yeah.
I thought it was cool.
As much as I like that
Yeah,
they have an Egyptian superhero now, it felt a little weird to have one of the kid characters say, "Are you an Egyptian superhero?" Like as if they had to vocalize.
yeah, that felt contrived a bit. Like that
It was a
felt
little
like
too on the nose.
draw attention. Yeah,
Yeah.
but
Whatever happened to less is more?
Right.
Yeah, like
I
what
still
if
had
like there was
fun.
just a shot of the kid looking up at her? Like that would
Totally. It would have been just as powerful. We didn't need to say like you're Egyptian. Like clearly, like
We know.
we know. We get it.
that's like going up to the villain saying, "Are you Ethan Hawke?"
And then Ethan Hawke is like, "Yes, I am. Listen to me play acoustic guitar and talk about indie rock for 10 minutes."
It was a little too on the money, but nonetheless, I enjoyed her sequences. I enjoyed her power up. I'm not sure what her powers are, but it was cool seeing like her level up and being like equal to Mark and Moon Knight, and I thought that was all fun. I like that.
I really love Stephen Grant's arc. I love seeing him like finally get more confident and kick ass. It felt natural for him. I would say Stephen Grant as a character had like the most compelling arc out of all of them. I mean, Mark was good too. I mean, I know it's kind of a cliche of having the guy who wants to work alone and not talk about his problems finally come to terms with himself. But I still thought it was very well executed and well handled. But Steven, for me, I think is the most. There's a reason they started with Steven as the personality in the first episode. He's the most relatable character.
Yeah.
Every comic book nerd watching this is gonna immediately identify with his enthusiasm and his love for Egyptian mythology and archaeology. The fact he constantly making the references and the joy he feels. I mean, honestly, Oscar Isaac, probably one of the best performances in the whole MCU, just killed it.
Yes.
And
Oscar.
seeing Steven grow was very well done. And I don't know, I'm seeing them back and forth and ship so naturally was, I thought, a great visual way to show how the character has grown. Like it was so natural, but you still felt like these were two completely different people. And I'm excited. I hope we see more Moon Knight. I mean, I know we will, but I hope we see more Moon Knight as a Moon Knight show. I really hope they do a season 2. I just want to see him have more focus and more with his growth.
Yeah,
I agree. I'm praying for Moon Knight season 2. I want more Oscar Isaac. He's acting wise eating this up like it's no tomorrow, and it's quite incredible to see him and like what he's done acting wise. Like I said before, I think he's his own special effect, and although I love seeing him and on screen, I definitely want more Moon Knight. Just Marvel, pay for the CGI. Marvel, give it to us.
Or maybe get some more actors that are their own special effect, save cost.
Yeah, we won't touch that.
Yeah, like what's his name? James McAvoy. Like the way his body shifts and split. Like do something like that.
Well, look, when we get to Doctor Strange, we can go off on that.
Well, I think we're here at Strange time.
Well, before we transition to that, I do have to mention we had a perfect transition from Avatar to Moon Knight because Steven loves Avatar, the one with the blue people, as he says.
He does.
Yes.
Oh, Steven.
Yeah, and you know, like
Steven.
I've seen a lot of people talk about it, that line, like how he mentioned that movie and not Avatar: The Last Airbender,
Oh yes,
because of course Avatar is a Disney property now.
it sure is. Brand synergy,
Yeah.
guys.
Hmm.
So
Done.
you will
But
never
he did
hear
ask it as a question. He asked it as a question. That means he knows that Last Airbender is a thing.
True. He has
Like,
that.
it's implied. It's implied. He knows that there's two different properties with the name Avatar.
I'm glad he knows.
Yeah.
I'm excited
Good
for
for him.
Airbender to come
Yeah.
back.
And by the way, there's something else I want to
Fine.
mention too, because you were talking about how, you know, this show showed that like somebody doesn't want to confront their anger issues in their past, and they handled it well here. Like for the most part they did, but I thought like a show like Peacemaker handled that much better, because they're not hampered by the PG-13. They could actually go into really
Mhm.
dark territory, and they don't feel the need to censor themselves. So I
I,
felt
I
like
At the
agree.
same time, I don't really think Moon Knight censored itself. It still handled at least his abuse in a very powerful way. It just wasn't as explicit. It wasn't as graphic. But I don't think you really need to be graphic to handle it well. I thought that when they handled his trauma, it was still very heart-wrenching. It was still very powerful. And a lot of it, again, is thanks to Oscar Isaac's performance. I mean, when that scene when he's an adult and he sees his house where they're doing the Shiva, and then he shifts to Stephen Grant, that was still very heartbreaking and powerful. And even the scenes where his mom is beating him, you don't see anything, but you also don't need to. I'm always a very big less is more kind of guy. And when you just, I think it said everything it needed to say without needing to be as hammered in. I mean, I still think Peacemaker is great, but it's also just tonally such a different show that it's
Yeah,
hard to compare.
exactly what I was gonna say. I feel like at Peacemaker, although I think it handled those moments, I think right. I think Peacemaker overall is kind of a joke and a kind of a character of itself, where I think the message is kind of lost a little bit on that part, on the serious tones of it. But I do think they handled that element well. But I think Moon Knight overall handled it very just like serious, like we got that message very clearly. Versus I think where Peacemaker, I think the message got lost because sometimes it's so funny.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you guys are saying. I just feel like with Moon Knight, like as much as they showed it, I felt like they were still a little held back. I felt like they could have gone a little further. And with Peacemaker, yeah, it is a joke, but like the fact that it even starts out as a comedy first makes the serious scenes like feel much more earned. Like when he's
Hmm.
confronting his dad, he kills him and he's haunted by the memory of his dad, the memory of
Yeah,
killing his brother. Like I don't know. And John Cena,
especially when he killed his brother. Just, geez, that was a hard scene. Like
yeah,
It's hard
when,
scene, but then 2 minutes later they are like at a joke scene. So I think it takes you out of the serious moment, and it's like kind of
well, I mean, like
lost.
that's kind of what how real life kind of goes too. You know, you could be
True.
crying at one moment and then all of a sudden laughing your ass off like a few minutes later. It feels like it feels like with Marvel sometimes they try to smash everything like into one perfect linear motion that I
Yeah.
feel sometimes it seems like it should be natural, but it feels like it really could go anywhere if you're dealing with things like emotions and trauma. Which you
and
know,
I will say with both of them, with both Peacemaker and Moon Knight, elevated what elevated the emotion, like no matter what the writing might have been, Oscar Isaac and John Cena, their performances is what helped make like sell those scenes. Like I don't think that the Moon Knight scenes would have been as powerful if it wasn't for Oscar Isaac, even if the writing was exactly the same. And even with Peacemaker, the jokier moments, I think you're still able to get that raw power from them because of John Cena. Like you mentioned, those scenes where he's like still being haunted by his father, and especially whenever he's alone in his trailer and coming to terms with the fact that he really can't connect with people because of his anger. Like they work because of John Cena.
hmm, yeah.
Right.
And don't get me wrong, I'm not saying like Oscar Isaac like was didn't deliver on that. Like he is phenomenal with
Oh
those
yeah, he over
scenes.
delivered.
Oh yeah.
But yeah. Anyway,
Hard help.
That's my little devil's advocate for Moon Knight.
I never think we'd be comparing Peacemaker and Moon Knight, but they are vigilantes who are both psychos. So there you go.
So as we try to get back into Marvel, let's talk for a moment about Star Wars, because this week was May the 4th,
Yes, May the 4th be with you.
and also with you.
And also with you.
And also with you.
I'm uber excited about Obi-Wan. I think Obi-Wan looks fantastic. I think Obi-Wan's going to be awesome. I'm just super excited for Obi-Wan. Star Wars, the brand obviously took a big hit with with the latest trilogy, but thanks to Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau, they have reshifted the attention in the right way, and Disney Plus is saving the Star Wars brand single-handedly with the shows from Mando to Boba Fett being a solid outing, and even to like their animated adventures with the Bad Batch, and now Obi-Wan, and soon we're getting Ahsoka, and then Mando season 3.
So wait, they are doing a season 3 of Mando?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Cool.
Breaking news. We are getting Mando season 3. Obviously, there won't be a certain person involved, but Mando season 3 is coming, and I don't know if we're getting Ahsoka first or Mando season 3, but we're both those shows, and I think, and then once we get Taika Waititi's Star Wars movie, which will be a standalone, and then we're getting a separate standalone Star Wars movie from Kevin Feige. So I think the Star Wars brand is headed in the right direction. I'm excited as ever for the future of Star Wars.
Part of me wants to believe that, but it just feels like there was a point where it just felt like everybody was getting a Star Wars spin-off film to direct, and so it almost feels like there's a weird direction going there.
Yeah, Patty Jenkins was getting one. I don't know if she's still getting one.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones creators, they were getting one.
They were getting one. They're no longer getting one.
Now, don't they wish they didn't fuck up Game of Thrones?
Yep. There's a couple Game of Thrones. We'll talk about those spin-offs.
Honestly, I'm tired. Like I think what's making it a bit exhausting for me is all of these like mid-quill and side-quill stories and spin-offs. I actually like most of the newer sequels. I really love Last Jedi. I love Force Awakens. And I mean, Rise of Skywalker I thought was terrible. But at least the story felt like we're moving forward. And I think what's just been getting so exhausting for me is that no matter how much, like, yeah, these might be newer like characters that are getting more direction and more focus. And I do love Mandalorian, don't get me wrong. I just want to know that the universe is growing. And because of all these different spinoffs that are taking place in mid-continuity, it makes the universe feel smaller and more stagnant. I mean, that was one of the parts of the fun of the extended universe with the books and the comics and everything, even if they weren't all in continuity and the continuity was all over the place. It still felt like that was the world expanding.
Right.
But it still felt like there was growth. And with all of these midquels, it just feels like everything is so tiny in a crystal ball that it's hard to invest in. I spent my May the 4th watching spinoffs. Not spinoffs, knockoffs, like Battle Beyond the Stars and Star Crash and Turkish Star Wars.
Turkish Star Wars.
I love Turkish Star Wars.
Because at least Josh, you have a great point. I think because what they've reverted to is with the sequels, because they were so universally panned, they all made $1 billion. So that's commercially, financially, they're all a success. But
Rise of Skywalker barely made $1 billion.
But it did. Unlike certain other movies. But because of the bashing they all got, I think the brand reverted back to, your old, favorites, just to see, we want some guarantees, they would need some, I think they're building on restoring the faith in Star Wars fans, showing that they do know to tell good stories. And I think once their faith is rebuilt, I think we're going to work on, the expansion again of building out the universe and all that. I think once the force is restored.
Or when the Force. So the next one's going to be Star Wars: The Force is Restored.
I hope so, because I also just this might be weird. I don't think that directors really should be listening to fans. You hire a director, you hire a writer to tell a specific story, let them tell their story. Fans aren't the ones writing. And I know from a business perspective, you got to cater to them to make the money. But part of what I loved about Last Jedi so much, which I know is the controversial one where everyone's split down the middle about where they love it or hate it, it was at least unique. It was at least a story that was in the Star Wars universe that that's unlike basically anything that's been told. And the ideas and themes I always thought were challenging. The idea of like, how do you either honor the future, destroy the future, and move forward? Like, our hero is even real. It's ideas that are challenging to comic book fans and fans of pop culture alike. And I do think that those ideas made fans uncomfortable to an extent. I'm not saying it's a perfect movie by any stretch, but I almost feel like just don't bother trying to restore faith and just take some of these characters and just focus on telling a good story. Because even if a character starts off unpopular, if you give them a good writer and a good director, then you'll get the fans will come. Maybe not, it might not be immediate, but it'll happen if the story's good enough.
Yeah, a lot of great films, they didn't have immediate success, so why not take a gamble?
You
I mean,
can't.
my favorite example is The
You can't
Thing.
gamble
The Thing,
on.
John Carpenter's The Thing.
You don't gamble on billion-dollar IPs. It's just not a thing you do in
I know.
business, in Hollywood. This is Hollywood business, and
Mhm.
Imagine a roulette table, and with the Rise of Skywalker, they just put their chips on every single number, trying to please everybody.
That's why it sucked.
yeah, well, there was conflict. It was like conflict between Rihanna Johnson, between Kathleen Kennedy, between the studio. It was
Well,
just like,
because they had no roadmap, they had no plan.
Yeah,
right.
that was their biggest problem, I think. Like, there was
Kathleen
no
was
like
supposed
as
to
much like
be the Feige of Star Wars, and she's not. And you know, which is why she won't have her job soon. And
But that's been like news for like 2 years. Like,
yeah,
has there been any progress or degress in that?
her contract is still up. I mean, her contract is it's not up yet, and when it is, I think there'll be a move made.
Yeah, because as much as I like Force Awakens and Last Jedi, you could tell there wasn't really a consistent idea of what this new trilogy was supposed to look like, and that was the biggest problem with it. And that's again why Rise of Skywalker sucked so much. Is they, instead of taking the story and being like, okay, what can we do with this? It was just focus on making fans happy rather than telling a good story, and that's why it failed.
Well, yeah, you have to somehow manage the two. Like, I think it's hard to. They tried their best with like the nostalgia part of bringing Palpatine back, and then
somehow Palpatine returned,
which is just crazy.
That line should just say like everything that's wrong with Rise of Skywalker. Everything is an afterthought.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Just like, how does he get here?
I don't know.
Magic.
He's actually been here the whole time. Like, what? Like, no, it doesn't make any sense, bro. But
especially with the when they leaked the original script for Duel of the Fates and all the concepts work they had for it, it looked like the most awesome Star Wars movie we were never gonna get.
It looked so good. I remember reading that script and I just loved it. And I'm like, why not just do this?
Yeah. Now I have a question. Do you guys think that it can still be made, but like maybe in an animated form?
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe.
I think so.
Maybe.
Because I would love
it
to
will
see
make
that.
money.
But
it'll be the Star Wars Snyder cut.
Right. And how do we get the Snyder cut? We got the Snyder cut by active fans, like tweeting and like Instagramming and social. So I think we'll only get Duel of the Fates if like the fans like demand it.
So I think we should start that up.
Hashtag bring back Duel of the Fates. Well, something more catchier than that. Hashtag across the screen right now, Jake. Whatever it is. Right? Cue the graphic. Which I guess is a way to end it on for May 4th. But may the force be with both of you.
And also with you.
I want to say one more thing. Watch Battle Beyond the Stars. It is one of the earliest works of James Cameron. He did the special effects and the production for that film, and it's a Star Wars knockoff from Roger Corman.
Oh yeah, the spaceship had like a very certain adult kind of look, if you
It
know what
looked
I
like
mean.
boobs. Yes, it did
Yeah.
look like
Very
boobs.
phallic.
Thank you, James Cameron, for
What am
that.
I doing censoring myself? I'm like Marvel.
Hey, look, I mean, always remember, everyone starts somewhere. So everyone, even James Cameron, started off in a Star Wars knockoff. That was also a knockoff of Seven Samurai in space with a ship that looked like boobs. Not to be an inspiration for artists everywhere.
um, is it time for Doctor Strange?
Yes.
I think so.
Doctor Strange, and Into the Multiverse of Madness. Oh Jesus! All right, let me start off with what I liked. I love Elizabeth Olsen and Benedict Cumberbatch. I think they continue to be great actors, and um, I think that's what I think that's all I liked.
Well, here I add on to that. Like, if we're talking about the cast, Bruce
Yeah.
Campbell.
Oh, Bruce Campbell, got it.
I was waiting
Yes.
for that, knowing that Sam Raimi was the director, and it delivered
Hail to the king, baby.
all the way to the very end.
I thought that gag was weak, honestly.
Oh, I loved it. Like, as a Sam Raimi moment,
Yeah.
I loved it.
Yeah, I
Of
didn't
many.
appreciate
Of
it.
many.
I think there was so much to do with this movie, and it was just like kind of like for me, it was like a waste of time considering how much we were supposed to get that was cut from this movie. And I get that Marvel's saving it for Secret Wars, which is their build like secret, not the Secret Wars TV show that we're getting, but like the bigger Secret Wars movie that we'll eventually get. Um, I just yeah, this movie was, I would say, disappointing. Uh,
What was disappointing for me? You promised me there would be a Deadpool cameo, and there,
it got cut.
shit.
It got cut. It got cut.
That's upsetting.
He's saving it up for Secret Wars. A lot of this movie got cut last minute. Like really, they at first this movie didn't test well. It was like they screened it like a year ago and it wasn't testing well. And then they went back and did a lot of rewrites
Test readings.
and it supposedly got better. And then, we were promised like this to be like, Marvel's answer to No Way Home. We're gonna get all the nostalgia and all that stuff. And then last minute, I think, they did a reshift on what this movie was gonna look like. And
Mhm.
it was, it didn't go well. Also, I think people didn't do like, I don't think the writer, I forget his name right now, I don't think he watched WandaVision. Um I think he
Yeah.
like I think he like took one, like if you saw WandaVision and then you saw this, you'd be like, these are two different characters. Like it just didn't make sense. Almost like it went backwards. It was kind of like um I feel like this movie should have happened in WandaVision because it was just like her going insane from it just didn't make sense. None of it added up. Like
It was
that,
too much of a jarring shift from the end of
yeah, the
WandaVision
shift was
there.
just it was so
Yeah.
severe. Like the same, like the Wanda we got in WandaVision would never do any of those things, even that she did in this movie. She killed so many people in this movie. It's
Yeah. By the way, we should mention that we're talking spoilers too, right?
oh yes, spoiler graphic.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When
All
she's
right now.
when she started killing
So
people, like that's when I was like, something's gonna happen to her here.
so so here's like almost my two different sets of brains have thoughts on it, because the B horror movie fan enjoyed it a lot. Like the amount, like it felt like a Sam Raimi film. I loved Zombie Strange and like the lightning coming down and his hand coming out. I thought that the deaths and the fight scenes were very creative. I loved the music note fight scene, and I enjoyed like the campy tone of it, the fact that it's all based around a demonic book. I was fine with that. I had a lot of fun. I thought it was well done. But in terms of what you were saying about Wanda's character, I completely agree. It's way too jarring. Part of me can just sort of accept that, okay, when they said the dark hold corrupts the reader and user, I can imagine, I can put the piece together in my head of being like, okay, she explored it to try and find her children, it corrupted her, and that influenced her into becoming a villain. I can sort of accept that as like B horror movie logic, where things like the Necronomicon or any Lovecraft villain can corrupt your mind into something like almost evil. But that still doesn't that doesn't excuse how jarring a tonal shift it is. And I could see people, especially people that are fans of Wanda as a character, being very frustrated with it.
Yeah.
So
Also, I don't think
it's
any of that
kind
was explained well. Like, I think if the Darkhold was such like this big corruptor and all that, I don't think any of that was properly like told.
they said
Like,
a
It's like
lot.
we were
Like
just
they,
like thrown into that, like when we get introduced to her in the fake fields.
yeah,
Yeah, and then also they do say, like, they said it a few times, plus they said when he fought the dark version of himself, and they were saying like, oh, you were the one who used it. He's like, it corrupts everyone, even the reader. But the part of, again, like, you guys are still right. Like, they didn't really go into much depth. And frankly, even if I was cool with, okay, Darkhold corrupted her, that's fine. They still could have done more to actually explore her trauma a bit. I mean, I think Elizabeth Olsen still sold the scenes when, like, I love the scenes
oh yeah,
whenever
she's a
she's
phenomenal
seeing her
actress.
older.
Yeah,
Yeah, whenever she was seeing her children, and she, especially that first time she dream walks and she hears her kids for the first time, her performance told me everything I needed to know about everything she went through. But the film still could have done a better job actually exploring it rather than just touching on it or referencing it.
And I'm
And
glad that you brought that up, Josh, because that has been my problem lately with a lot of these Marvel movies, is that they only scratch the very surface of the barrel when it comes to trauma, and then they regress
mhm,
from that and they go back to things being black and white with maybe just a slight
mhm.
hint of something happens.
yeah.
Yeah, that's why, if I was, in terms of comparing like B movie filmmakers that got into Marvel, Sam Raimi, James Gunn, I think James Gunn did it better because he balanced that heart and passion and like level of depth and exploration into his themes with the campy silliness, while Sam Raimi was a bit more the campy silliness and the horror stuff outgoing and as in depth. I mean, I still had fun with it as just, but as a horror movie, as like a B horror movie, not as a part of the Marvel universe, I guess. That makes
Yeah.
I
any
mean,
sense.
what did you guys think of the Illuminati scene? I personally, um,
Well, we can confirm one casting rumor that we were hearing.
yeah,
Yeah. And another example of, oh, we're going to treat the X-Men stuff as cameos rather than actually bring them into the universe. Like, I
well,
thought it was really cool.
yeah, it was
I
super
was psyched.
cool. Like we went to this one universe where it's like, oh, like, we have the Inhumans, we have the Fantastic Four, we have the X-Men, and we have all this universe seems like great. Like, oh, I want to go to this universe. They
Yeah.
already
Like,
they already have the X-Men and Inhumans and Fantastic Four. Um, it's just like just they were killed off so easily. Like it was kind of a joke. Like
they were
It was,
gruesome
but
deaths, though.
yeah, that's what I was gonna say. Like, as much as they were treated like a joke, like those, it was really cool seeing heroes being killed in that way. It felt refreshing for
that
Marvel.
that head explosion, like, dear God, like, I like me a good gory death, and that one hit home.
Or how about when Captain America
Captain Carter
gets
was
like,
bifurcated.
oh yeah, but like, for
God
the
damn.
funny thing is, like, for a relatively family oriented studio like Marvel, they showed it pretty effectively in this.
This was really kind of borderline PG-13R, honestly.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure, like, I wish that when I saw it, there were some parents with kids in the audience, because I would love to see those reactions
there
of
were kids
like,
in my audience, and like I think the level it was like just enough. Like I think it was like
how are
fine.
the parents?
Yeah, the parents were fine. Like I think there was like my audience really reacted well. Like they were like some ooh and ahs to like Captain Carter, but although I think she looked a little underwhelming, especially if you saw What If. And she was so
Mhm,
cool in What If. And I think they kind of like gave her like the She-Hulk treatment in What If, where I thought she looked kind of too small here. I think they should have gave her some padding
mhm.
where she looked
Uh,
proper like Captain Carter. And then my other
yeah.
complaints were like the chair for like Charles Xavier, it didn't actually hover. It was weird. It was like
It
this is
aesthetically, it looked really weird.
yeah, this looked weird. And I
Well,
think
I
like,
think it was
It's like, what color didn't we
wasn't meant to
use?
look like.
Yellow.
Well,
yellow.
wait, wasn't that the color of his chair in the animated series?
Yeah,
That
it was
was what I
exactly
picked up
that.
from it.
But it
Was it?
didn't
I never
hover.
saw the animated series.
Yeah. we didn't get to see the
Watch the
hover or
animated
anything
series.
like that. And I thought like, although we wanted John Krasinski so bad as Mr. Fantastic, um, he didn't seem like Mr. Fantastic to me. It was weird. It was like
Honestly, I was
It's like
cool
it's
with
like he
it.
walked. It's almost like he walked in from the set of Aloha.
yeah, it was weird. Like, cause I know Mr. Fantastic so well, the character at this point. From like, he just didn't seem like the smartest guy in the room. It was like,
Well, this is a different universe.
this is a different.
Yeah, and
universe.
honestly, I liked him in it. I already lost. I flipped out when I saw Mr. Fantastic. I was already high on it, but he gave off the adventure look that I felt like the character should have. I was fine with it. I mean, you're right.
Yeah.
Like he didn't come off as much like the comics, where he's the you said smartest man in the room, master inventor, plotter, everything.
Yeah,
But the
kinda
vibe he got
cool.
from me was one that I still fit an interpretation I would be cool with as an explorer, as an adventurer. Like he looked like he'd been around, and that's what I think that Mr. Fantastic should be. Like he gave off an aura of experience that I think that type of character really needs.
Well, the big question now is, now that we talked about this last episode with John Watts being out, does this now go, do they announce it? The timing of it is all very funny. Like, oh, John Watts is out. Now we see Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic. Do we now give this movie to Krasinski? Is he now director and star of the new Fantastic Marvel movie, Fantastic Four?
He's a good director. I'd
Yeah.
be cool with it.
Both Quiet
I mean,
Places were
He's
great.
very skilled.
Yeah, the family elements of The Quiet Place was great, and which is like, it's supposed to be a family movie, and so I can see it. So like, I think Marvel's playing some tricks here with us.
Yeah. Plus, I
And
don't know.
especially the second. Sorry, I was going to just say the second Quiet Place movie, where it's a bit more of a world building element to it.
Yeah.
He was really good at that, so I think he'd be able to at least balance the rest of the MCU with his movie in a very skilled way.
Perhaps. I don't know. I think we'll see how it does, how the reaction is. I don't think Marvel's announced anything yet on purpose, because they're waiting to see like what the reactions are to him as Mr. Fantastic and how people feel about it. And I think from there, the next one will get an announcement, if so. So there is a world where we still don't get Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic in the movie, but we'll always have this little nugget. So I just want fans to possibly be prepared to not have Krasinski as Mr. Fantastic.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too when he popped up. I'm like I was genuinely surprised, and I was like, well, that idea's out the window now.
But also there was a little note, so I don't know if people caught this. So when Krasinski popped up on the Illuminati stage, Doctor Strange was like, "Oh, what is this? The '60s?" So I'm curious if in the 616 universe, then Fantastic Four is an old superhero group.
Ooh. That's interesting.
And
I'd be cool with that.
I'm not cool with that. I don't need another movie set in the past.
But they haven't really done the 60s. And honestly, 60s nostalgia isn't as oversaturated as 80s nostalgia. So if you're going to have, I mean,
it's a different time.
Stories.
Look, back in the 80s, we were reliving the 60s.
Yeah.
It's always the 2-decade gap.
Yeah, and I'm sick. I'm kind of getting sick of 80s nostalgia.
Me too.
And 90s nostalgia is getting a bit exhausting. And I've already lived in the 2000s, so
I don't think we're gonna get 2000s nostalgia because nobody wants to relive the 2000s.
Oh, the 2000 nostalgia is coming full force. I promise you.
OJ's predicting
9/11, yay, and Bush and the Iraq War.
It's happening. The new Rebel Wilson movies, 2000 nostalgia.
Which I just want to say something. When I saw that trailer, I was thinking this just looks like a modern day gender swap version of Kicking It Old School with Jamie Kennedy.
Yes.
Oh God.
Did you ever see that?
I love to hate.
No, it's a movie that I hate to hate. Like when it comes, like there are a lot of movies I watch just for pure enjoyment because they're trash. This one just gave me a headache.
Yeah, Old School was bad.
But wait, Kicking It Old School, right? Not the Will Ferrell movie, right?
Kicking It Old School, yeah, not the Will Ferrell movie. Kicking It Old School.
Yeah, no, Old School is great.
That's a classic.
Will Ferrell and Luke Wilson. Yeah, 2000 nostalgia is on the way. I promise you that.
Right.
Oh,
I get to
great.
relive.
But
Get to
here's the
relive
thing.
the Iraq War over and over again.
But here's the thing, though. I feel like we've been getting so nostalgic in the millennium years that like we won't have nostalgia to relive because we've been too busy reliving others.
Right.
Yeah, that's really been my biggest frustration. Like, so much of our identity nowadays is so based on nostalgia that when you think of a modern style, like what's a 2020s movie or a 2010s movie, I mean, I think if you give us some time, we could probably think about what that looks like. But whether it's but a lot of it just feels like nostalgia to me, or at least nostalgia of like the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, and you know what? Like we're not even doing nostalgia properly, I don't think, because
Oh,
yeah, it looks like the 80s, but it doesn't feel like the 80s. It feels like our interpretation of the 80s now.
Hmm.
Because we're getting too self-referential. We're breaking
yeah.
down plots. Like you didn't do that in the 80s.
No,
At,
you
at
had a
least, at
really
No
least
one.
not this
brilliant
blatantly.
idea.
I think one of my friends who is a lot older than me, he said no one, like very, very few kids had a thing poster on their wall, but every 80s movie, every like 80s nostalgia movie, the kid has a poster for John Carpenter's The Thing on their wall.
And no matter the decade, every kid somehow had a globe in their room.
Well, I had a globe in my room.
I did actually have a globe in my room.
A little tiny one I did.
Yes.
By the way, did you guys ever
I
see
did that
that
with
show?
Zachary.
Do you guys ever watch that show, Documentary Now on IFC?
No.
This was a great show. Like each episode was a parody of a very popular documentary in cinema history. And there was one made in the 50s, I think, or the 60s called Salesman, which was about Bible salesmen going door to door. But in this one, they parodied it with globesmen. So it's people trying to sell globes door to door. It's really good. Like they have like a lot of on point parodies. That is actually, I think, parody done well.
Okay.
Yeah, gotta check it out.
For that, back to Doctor Strange. So just, I don't know what's gonna happen with Fantastic Four, but be prepared for possibly a throwback movie set in the time period, and be prepared possibly not to get Krasinski.
Is this your Lion King Be Prepared song?
Yes, be prepared. But overall, I mean, I think the Illuminati, although it was exciting to see them, I think they were killed off very easily, and it bothered me how easily they were easy to kill, especially Captain Marvel.
Yeah. Also, I want to bring up something when it comes to multiverses. I thought we were going to get a lot more multiverse jumping.
Yeah, we got we got like a sequence of multiverse jumping, but we really only explored one other universe.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
because someone put, I think, was it you that said, Josh? Like this was like no, it was Thomas Flight on his Twitter. He said he said Doctor Strange was only the second best movie about multiverses this year so far. Because Everything Everywhere All at Once did so much multiverse jumping.
They did.
It did, and yeah, I agree. I mean, that is so far the king of multiverse movies.
And
because it actually went into.
And they did it better.
They did do it better.
Yeah, because like multiverse jumping sounds like a really fun idea, and this movie just keeps it to one location, and it's a very boring location.
Yeah, like lights, green means don't go, and red means go now. I'm like, what?
Yeah. Like the only thing I actually appreciate is that when they were in the other universe, they changed the lighting.
How so?
Like at least looked like a different movie, which is what I think you should be doing when you're in a multiverse. That's what Everything Everywhere All at Once did, where the entire genre, even some of the camera equipment, was completely different. But yeah, I wanted more jumping. I still like what I got, but I would want a bit more. Like even was the Illuminati. I was hoping that when they were going to bring in the Illuminati, there would be people from different multiverses, and it wasn't even that.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, so like there's no Avengers this universe. They're just called the Illuminati.
They couldn't even call them the Ultimates or something.
Yeah, it was weird. Like I like it was fun. Like it was cool seeing like dead Thanos, and cool seeing them on Titan for that little like sequence that they had, and and it was great seeing like an upgraded Black Bolt and him, like his costume looks phenomenal, and it
Mhm.
was good, good for him to have that retry from that horrible TV show.
Yeah. Black Bolt done right finally.
Yeah,
Kind of.
exactly.
Do you remember back in the
Um,
day when that was new, like, and they were holding special IMAX screenings of the first 2 episodes?
oof.
Yeah. I remember when that was described as like Marvel's Game of Thrones.
Well, because they had the
I
really
vividly
actor
remember
in
that.
it.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Yeah, it was
Yeah,
bad.
that was
Bad.
bad.
It was bad. I don't know
Again,
why they ever took Inhumans away from Feige. I don't know.
Well, Feige to the rescue. He's going to save all these properties.
Yeah, I think
hmm
even killing Black Bolt the way he did was like the last fuck you to like Jeff Loeb and like Marvel for like ever taking away the Inhumans from him.
No, no,
Like
the last step you is what he does with Iron Fist.
just like not acknowledge him at all.
which again, sad when Iron Fist was in Luke Cage. That was cool.
Yeah,
I thought
He was.
I'm in
they had good
the
chemistry, those
minority.
two.
I didn't hate
They
the
had
Iron Fist
great
TV show.
chemistry. I don't. I mean, I don't like it. I don't hate it. It's I wouldn't say it's good, but
Right.
everyone was still against the casting. I forgot the actor's name.
Finn
Yeah.
Jones.
Him, yeah. But when he was in Luke Cage, he was cool. Like they had good chemistry. Even his personality was more relaxed and chill, but you could tell you could still kick your ass if you needed to.
Even
Like
Colleen Wig with Misty Knight and like the Daughters of Dragon like sequence they did, I think was
good
awesome.
stuff.
Yeah, that was good
Yeah.
stuff.
There was tremendous potential with Iron Fist. It just got like they just didn't give it the chance that I think it needed.
Yeah. Would you say that was like what essentially started to kill the Marvel Netflix universe?
Yeah, that and the defend
No,
and I
Oh,
that's
wait,
not
wait.
what
OJ
killed
is
it.
saying no. What do you think it was
no,
then?
what was it for you?
Disney Plus.
No, but like even before Disney Plus came out, like they were like starting to cancel all the series.
No, that was on purpose.
I'll say creatively, Iron
Behind
Fist
the
was when
scenes,
people
there
were
was
starting
like
to lose interest.
it was behind. Well, no, it was more so behind the scenes. It was like Marvel, Netflix knew Disney was going to like want to like take their properties back. So there was like, we're gonna cancel it before you can like cancel it for us behind the scenes wise.
But now with the news revealed, like it pretty much just seems like a force of habit for Netflix.
Yes, but that wasn't the
Yeah.
original plan. The original plan was to do multiple seasons, and we're supposed to get another Defenders, and even add more people to the ship. Like it was supposed to be more TV shows. Ghost Rider was gonna get one, and it was gonna be a big build out. But then with the Disney Plus and everything's gonna be under Feige, and it was just like we're gonna consolidate, and it was the right move.
Mm-hmm.
Because everything business wise should be under one umbrella. We don't need to outsource anything else ever again. We have our own streaming service now. We have our own studio now. No longer do we need to like sell our characters. Because it's just, why? Everything should be under one house. The only thing still left that's still like outhouse is still Spider-Man and all his rogues.
That
And
poor
still,
kid. He's a victim of joint custody.
he is. We're working on it. And we still have Hulk, who's his rights is still at Universal, and Namor.
And that's why like we really haven't gotten another Incredible Hulk movie.
No, because his rights still with, and that's why we're getting Namor and Black Panther, because we're the plan was to do a Namor solo movie, but because his movie rights are with Universal, we have to settle for him being in Black Panther.
So again, hashtag Luke. Give me Luke Cage season 3.
So now this
All
video
I
has
want.
2 hashtags.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Give me.
Cue the graphic, Jake.
Does it say something that we've mostly been talking about everything else, but not Doctor Strange in the Doctor Strange movie? I feel like that says something.
It does. It says the movie was not great.
Well, according to a lot of the characters in the movie, like there's nothing to like about Doctor Strange. He's responsible for everybody's trauma from the blip.
And yet,
Which
which I was excited about because they were exploring that with that first opening sequence with Michael Stuhlbarg's character, he was like, "Did you have to give him the time stone? Like, did you really make the best decision? Did I really have to die
Mhm.
for 5 years?" So I was like, "Oh, are we really exploring that?" I thought that was great, and then like nothing happened with that.
But this is the MCU. They only scratch the surface and then they chicken out.
Right.
Yeah, like it seems like they were trying to go and explore Doctor Strange's egotism, which they already kind of did in the first Doctor Strange movie.
Yes.
Yeah, which is weird. Like I thought they had closure to that.
Hey,
Yeah.
look, sometimes people fall back on the bad habits. And it's worth asking the question of like, okay, he says that this is the only reality is where basically half of everyone had to die. But is that really true? Is it really accurate? That's a question worth asking. And for as much as they say, were you really right? Do you always feel like you need to hold the scalpel? They don't really do much with it.
Yeah,
They
And
don't.
that's disappointing.
it just became like moments of more interpersonal bickering between characters, which I'm really getting tired of in these movies.
And I think I think America Chavez was a waste of time. What
She
they
was
did,
boring.
she was boring, and
Yeah.
they took out all the special stuff from her comic book series. That was like that she was so cool. All the special sauce about her was just like taken out and not used. They like Disney channeled her. Like it was like everything cool and sassy about her was gone. Like it
Hmm.
was it was a waste. I
She
don't.
looks she looks like a character. Like the second I saw her costume, like, okay, this is a cosplay costume. Like she looks like someone you're supposed to dress up as.
Yeah, it gave me very Disney Channel movie. Her whole look, her even with the casting note shade to the actress.
Yeah, it's not the actor's fault. It's
No, not at
Right.
all.
they're barely giving
No.
anything to work with.
Yeah, she was really
Yeah.
good to work with. Like American Chavez in the comics was really cool, and she has like a really cool fan base. And I think the fans that she does have won't be pleased with the way she came out. Like she in the comics, she's like a proud lesbian and had lesbian moms, and like none of that was like it was like
She
she
has
had the
attitude.
yeah she just has attitude. The gay pin on her jean jacket, like that wasn't explained. Like she's a part of the LGBT. It was just like
Oh yeah, so that they can digitally remove that when they sell the movie to China.
right.
Yep.
Or no, not
Exactly.
yeah. Well, this is crazy. In
Like
the movie,
Disney just it's a soulless company. They do this for woke points. Other
And
than that, they don't
also
care.
yeah,
and also the scene with her parents, you could tell they cut out a kiss.
yeah,
Like you could so easily tell, like when they were looking at each other and had one had their hand on the other on her other shoulders, there was going to be a kiss and they cut away from it. Like it was so easy to tell.
It was a
I,
very platonic shoulder touch.
yeah. I will say like it was cool. I think Wanda's powers were visually stunning in this movie. I like that.
Yeah, by the way, a lot of the visuals in this movie were good, but there were a couple that I saw that looked really cheap. Like when she steps on
Especially
that
in the
booby
beginning.
trap and
Yeah,
she's rotating, I noticed the lighting around her like stayed completely the same. Like almost as if like
Not
there's
gonna
no
lie,
light moving around.
not gonna lie though. Again, I got major B movie vibes. Even the effects at times when they would like shift in terms of quality, I was fine with because it just matched the tone.
yeah,
Like
I love
this
that
movie,
scene where they're in when she's like trapped by the mirrors and then like she's reaching for that one that turns out to be a puddle of water. Like sound wise,
mhm.
that was very effective.
yeah. I thought that was cool. The whole puddle of water sequence where she's coming through the reflections. I thought that was great.
Although I will have to
Yeah.
say this, when America was like getting rid of all the reflections and she just stares at that puddle like as if like
I'm just like, what are you doing? Cover that puddle.
you're setting yourself up for failure there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Like,
how much cooler
okay,
would it
now
have
we
been
gotta
if she just came out through the gong behind, like didn't even think like, oh wait, there's a little bit of reflection in there.
That would have
Then
totally worked, but no, we had to have her acting like an idiot, like in a lot of horror movies.
yeah, I didn't get it. Even like that whole scene where she's like chasing them through like the underground tunnel. I'm like, what?
Yeah, and they stop like as if they thought that door was actually gonna stop her. Like, no.
I just didn't get any of that. Like I don't like I didn't get it. I will say I'm still excited to see Wanda is like clearly not dead.
You don't see
No.
the body, doesn't mean they're dead.
Exactly. I think we'll
And
see
frankly, even if they are dead, it's superheroes. They'll come back.
superheroes.
They get better.
Yeah,
I think
but
we'll get her an Agatha show. I think.
if she does come back though, like where do you think she can go from here?
I think she'll show up in Agatha's show. Um, listen, I think heroes are complicated. We have Winter Soldier. He killed a lot of people, and I think she'll be fine. But I think there's going to be some repair work to do here. But I don't know where they go from with this. Like, it's going to be complicated because like I said, they ignored so much what happened to WandaVision and all the empathy that she had, and she has such a huge fan base. There's no way they're gonna unless Elizabeth Olsen doesn't want to do this character anymore. I think they would be fools to like let go on all her cachet that she's built up.
Well,
Yeah.
because they can always use the bit of the book corrupted her. I don't think they have to worry about this being full on character assassination because it's pretty, like I said before, it's pretty easy to go under the logic of the book like influenced her and brought out this more aggressive side of her, and that while her anger and trauma was coming from a real place, the influence of the book helped push her over the edge. So fans of the character, I think, they'll still have fun, and I'm pretty sure that some of them will just sort of go along with, okay, now she's badass villain that's totally justified because fuck y'all, like being entertaining villain.
maybe she ends up, we find her next at the end credit scene of Fantastic Four, and she's married to Doctor Doom, like in the comics, and she's like shacking up with him, and so I think we'll see. There's
Evil
a lot of
Queen.
Evil Queen.
Evil Queen. Everyone loves an evil queen.
And we still yet to get mutants in MCU, so we still have to figure out how that's going to happen and how they end up in the MCU. And she still could be, like in the comics where she said no more mutants. Maybe she creates the mutants and like in the MCU. But we'll see. It's funny because in the comic books they've never known what to do with Wanda, and like they've never have gave great treatment to Wanda in the comics. So it's kind of, some of that is happening in the MCU, I think, a bit. So I guess we'll see. But she has her fans, and I think she will still be around.
Yeah. I mean, she'll probably, I wouldn't be surprised. They'll just give her a redemption arc.
Yeah.
It's going to be,
like
like you said, there's going to be a lot of repair work done because she's taken a lot of lives and she has a trauma that she can't really shake off.
Yeah, because we still have yet to we're going to get her sons eventually. We're going to get Wiccan and oh gosh.
Changeling.
Changeling. No, that's you talking about Hulkling.
Hulkling, but didn't he change his name to Changeling?
Yeah. We're still gonna get Wiccan and Speed, her twins. And I think when they come back, because in the comics, when they first came back to life, they were like incarnations and they went on a search for Wanda to find her. So
as the Young Avengers.
And we're getting the Young Avengers. We have a few of them already in play.
You've been saying that so many times, OJ. Let's get them now.
I know. It takes time. It's a build up. We got American
White Vision.
American Chavez.
Where was White Vision?
Yeah, exactly.
Got cut out. Look, I'm just glad they didn't cut out Bruce Campbell.
Yeah, me too.
I think Sam Raimi, like, if they suggested that, he would have fought hard. Like, it's not a Sam Raimi movie without a cameo.
This is true. Speaking of a cameo, what did you guys think of the end credit scene with Miss Charlize Theron?
I didn't know who that was.
You didn't know Clea?
No, like I knew it was Charlize Theron. I just was like,
Clea.
It was just like with Eternals. I'm like, who is this post-credits character?
I'm pretty sure I spoiled that like 3 episodes ago.
Yeah. Oh, and how about before we go with the post-credit scenes, how about the very final scene where it shows that Doctor Strange was corrupted by the dark spell?
See, okay. Now this I need to go off on because this was like the only time a post-credit sequence kind of ruined something for me, because I was cool with that jump scare ending. I was fine with it. I was already enjoying Multiverse of Madness. I've accepted that this is a B movie. I'm just going to go with all the cheese. I'm fine with it. He's going to be screaming with a third eye. Fine. And then when they get to the post-credit sequence, I'm just like, oh, he got over that real quick.
It looked like it was an alternate take.
It probably was. And I'm just like, look, why didn't you just let us have this horror moment? You already basically made a cheesy horror movie. Let
Yeah.
me just keep having this cheesy horror movie. And then like I was cool with seeing Clea because like it's one of the few like supporting characters besides Wong that's kind of consistent with Doctor Strange. So I
He's
was like,
actually the
okay, we're to
current
see where this
Sorcerer
goes.
Supreme in the comics right now.
Yeah, exactly. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. But I guess okay, he's cool with the third eye now. I'm happy for you, man. Like you got three-way sunglasses, it'll be fine. Have a good time.
Yeah, I don't know.
But
I
it was
like
a little disappointing.
it was. I agree with you, Josh. Like, I mean, the only part about that I enjoyed was seeing Clea, and having Clea now part of the MCU, and seeing Charlize. Charlize. I think should. A lot of people wanted her as Captain Marvel. That didn't happen, and so it's exciting to see Charlize now in the MCU, um, and we'll see what they do with that in the third Doctor Strange movie.
Mm-hmm.
Um, yeah, because it's what a way to leave it. It's like, okay, like what now?
Yeah, yeah. That was literally my attitude at that post-credit sequence. So I'm just like, okay, cool.
Right. So yeah, I'm very curious to see where we go with that. I don't know because she had said he calls it incursion, which is what they were talking about. But I thought we avoided all the incursions, so I'm just like,
There's more incursions. Look, there's what he missed one. He missed a
yeah,
couple.
and like, what does she care? She's from if people don't know, she's from, well, at least in the comics, she's from the Dark Dimension. She is the granddaughter of Dormammu, who is the villain in the first Doctor Strange movie. And she's the Sorcerer Supreme of the Dark Dimension. So I like maybe he caused an incursion in the Dark Dimension somewhere. I will see. I don't know.
I mean, he did a whole barrel through a bunch of dimensions. I'm sure he messed up one of them.
Yeah, I'm sure he did. He did a barrel through a bunch of dimensions, and we'll see. Another thing to touch on too, it wasn't clear. Like it was like they were calling Doctor Strange what he did sorcery, and then what Wanda did witchcraft. And I know that, but they're both magic.
One's nicer than the other. That's all I got. I had no idea.
They could have
what that
delved
was
into
all
that.
about.
Yeah, they could have delved into that more. It was a lot to like. It was just
Is this like a D&D thing where there's a difference between a wizard and a sorcerer or something?
no, because it's female
'Cause I know.
sorcerers. Because like, and their magic looks different than like when Agatha and like, but like in like Wiccan, his magic looks the same as like Wanda and Agatha. So I guess they're witches.
Mm,
And then the other guys are sorcerers. I don't know. Like a lot needs to be cleared up here.
Yeah.
And which I guess Agatha's show will explore that. I guess Agatha's show is also going to explore like how we get the boys back into the mix. So Agatha's
but
show has
there's
a lot
also
to
just
accomplish now, I guess.
but it also kind of is just setting up the Agatha show to just be plot filler and not really a story. Like
Yeah.
that's just making it seem like the Agatha show only exists to like make lore for the sake of the lore and exposit plot points rather than just tell a story, which is what my biggest concern is with a lot of these, both the Star Wars and the Marvel series, is where
But at least I feel like
need
with this, I feel like with Agatha's show, it's still moving the story forward. Versus like a lot of the Star Wars shows are like in between, like
yeah. That's where Marvel's been better at. Marvel's been better at actually moving their universe forward and growing it rather than feeling
right.
stuck
Because
in
I
the
feel like at
middle.
least it's like a plot filler that moves the story into something else that we're like looking forward to. Like at least it's going to help further build like the Young Avengers that we're looking forward to getting and that kind of stuff. And so I do agree with you. It is a plot filler, but at least it's like propelling the story forward.
Yeah, that's true.
Versus like Star Wars, like, all right, so we already seen the future. So we know
mid-quill on mid-quill. All
like,
of the mid-quills.
Like, for excited as I am about Obi-Wan, like we already know like the outcome. Like, like Obi-Wan clearly lived and like, everything went okay. So like we already like there's no real consequences to this because we've already seen it all. So it's like this in
That should be
between
fun.
story. It's weird. Although I'm excited to see Obi-Wan again. It's just like we already know the ending.
All in all, let's just get some
Yeah.
new material finally.
Yeah. All in
Yes. Go
Um,
see Everything Everywhere All at Once in the theater.
all.
It'll be everything, everywhere, all at once that you imagined.
Exactly.
Actually, I need to rework that. It is everything and everywhere you would imagine, all at once.
Go Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, she was great in that, by the way.
She is. She's great at everything.
Yeah. She is.
Well, that's a great way to end it, gentlemen. Go see that movie, not Doctor Strange.
Okay,
I will
I
say
still
this:
had fun.
if there's any move, the thing about everything, everywhere, all at once, it's even though it actually borrows a couple of elements from different films, it still feels very original. This is the kind of original stuff we've been begging for. So
Yeah.
anyone watching this is a movie that deserves your money because you vote with your wallet.
Yes, we live in a capitalist society, so the only thing anyone's going to listen to is what you spend money on. I enjoyed, despite everything I've said, I did enjoy Multiverse of Madness. It is a fun
This
movie.
is true. I will
Yeah.
watch it again
But
on Disney Plus.
I
I
will
won't
see
watch
it
it
again on
again,
Disney
but I
Plus.
don't regret it.
But if there's a movie that you need to see in the theater that needs the box office build up, that needs the attention, Everything Ever All at Once, 100%.
Yeah, to be fair, it already has it. Like this movie got a lot of word of mouth.
Oh yeah.
Give it more than.
More. Let's propel the conversation. We're pushing that forward. And then after that, if you're bored, go see Doctor Strange.
Doctor Strange and Evil Dead make a great double feature, both directed by Sam Raimi. Both have his trademark like POV shots. Both have demons that fly around everywhere and possess people. Both involve evil books. So yeah, after you see Doctor Strange drunk with your friends, go see Evil Dead and Evil Dead 2
Yes.
and Army of Darkness and Evil Dead remake.
So funny. I agree. That sounds like a great double feature.
Yeah, you know what? Screw double feature. Let's just make it a whole day-long movie marathon.
Yeah. Okay, so what I'm saying is Doctor Strange and Evil Dead are in the same universe.
It is a multiverse.
Because it is the multiverse, and if you want to say that the Deathhold book is the Necronomicon,
Oh my god.
and those like little ghosts that were surrounding Zombie Strange looked, they looked kind of Deadite-ish.
They did. Even that whole, I thought that sequence was cool. I have a lot of problems with this movie.
I'm sure there will be more to come, like the more we think about it over the next couple days.
Yeah.
There's gonna be so much discourse.
I'm holding
much
back.
discourse.
I still have to be a team player here.
Best team player is an honest team player.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You want your friends to be constructively critical.
Yeah, they always say like keep your cheerleaders, but keep your critics too.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, we'll be back next week on the podcast. We'll be discussing something. I'm not sure what it is. We'll be back next week talking about something movie related and comic books. Thank you for hanging out with us. We'll see you next week.
Take care.
Bye.